Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for episode 4 of this SD Times Live micro-webinar series on Introduction to Pattern Thinking. If you're tuning in for the first time, here's a quick recap of what you missed. Episode 1 introduced the use of pattern thinking and automation patterns to help organizations be agile and efficient. Episode 2 looked at agile automation patterns to optimize your processes. And episode 3, we dove into the top automation patterns to connect business and development outcomes. All of these episodes are available on demand on the sdtimes.com website under the Learning Center. And today we'll be discussing top automation patterns to accelerate DevOps. With me today again, as always, is the lovely Lance Knight, who's the Chief Value Stream Architect at Broadcom, which acquired ConnectALL, their assets back in June. How you doing today, Lance?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad.
You know why I'm giggling, right?
Because I said it was disgusting instead of discussing.
Yeah, we're going to be some disgusting DevOps stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to be my age and your teeth don't work like they used to.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, I was, Anyway, well, here we are. Exciting, right?
Sure.
So
why don't we dive right into it, because we are always pressed for time, and take a look at what some of those automation patterns might be that'll help people accelerate their DevOps.
Well, you know what's interesting is I started to dive into this topic, right? And I did a bunch of research, and we've seen different patterns, and I was out there looking for the top patterns. And what I came up with was something that was complex. There are a lot of different tools, and there's a lot of different patterns, and there's a lot of different things that you can do relevant to DevOps and integration. And when you look at it, and automation, when you start to look at it, it's end to end. It starts from the tools that go from ideation and planning all the way into the code and production. And when you start to look at the word DevOps, you start to break down this whole thing. And then some of the thought patterns around DevOps are actually nothing to do with the systems that connect and that you work with, but actually the parts of working with the code you're putting into production. So it's very encompassing and very big. So I thought I'd give a quick recap of how do I really understand what my patterns are and what should I look for and what can I do for that. So I got a quick PowerPoint on that. And I'll talk about some of the patterns we looked at, but there are so many different patterns. And in those patterns, in your value stream, you have to look for the bottlenecks and understand how they might fit within a particular pattern. There's all the high level patterns, but there's these other ones that are slowing you down. So let me run through some of that, and we'll get into some of those 5 patterns or so on I have here. But it was very interesting research as I was preparing for this. So let me share my screen. And you should see my screen there.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So let's kind of go through this really quickly when I think about this, right? So first, what is this system thinking thing that we've been talking about? It's it's been around for a while. It's really when you're looking at a system and the way that you're sending things through your DevOps pipeline or the way that you're developing software, you're looking for reoccurring patterns that happen often. And at a high level, you can find those, and there's different tools you can use to do that. And we'll talk about those in the next slide. And then when you're looking at these patterns, you want to look for ones that you can use to automate. So I can automate these things so that I'm not being slowed down in software development delivery as code is moving through to production. Or I'm amplifying feedback loops. Those are also DevOps patterns that there as well. So you're looking for these things, that's a causality map. And I often talk about these 2 things here, where I can use systems thinking and value stream mapping to kind of look at where my bottlenecks and constraints are. And if you use those together, systems, architecture system map, or even a causality loop as you're looking for feedback loops and so on. And what's really fascinating is these tools once you start to use them, you start to realize that it can get kind of chaotic. Right here, I've laid out kind of like a DevOps map flow, right? But you see, there's all these different feedback loops and things going on, and there's human interaction in this, and things are happening from this whole thing. From where, I got a request coming into Rally, that might go into Slack or go into a tool. I'm going to check that code out. I'm going to write it, code it, send it back in, commit it. Then it's going to see that commitment. All these things are happening as you're moving code in production, and for continuous integration deployments. There's a lot there. Matter of fact, I would say it's noisy like this value stream map. A lot more noisy than I think people realize of the things that have to happen just to move a little bit of code to production. It's just not what's in the operational flow as well, right? So when you think about it, you really have to map it out, look at that flow, use those two different diagrams and so on. But some of the patterns we uncovered were like test automation patterns, where test feedback loops come from your testing, right? When you submit your code back into GitHub, automatically a product like Cucumber runs all its scripts and then gives you all of the results back before it moves on to the next step, right? Or the full DevOps journey where, GitHub to Jenkins to Selenium to Octopus Deploy, all of that gets connected. And then I'm automating the full journey from one to the other. And feedback loops are happening and stopping builds as well, or stopping things from moving based upon what's happening in there. So when you're automating, you got to start to think about, will this automation be able to be stopped too? Because if you throw in an automation, then you're running more risk. So you have to have some logic in here. And that's why we put in logic adapters and ConnectALL. But all of these different patterns start to come out where there's just not 5 top ones is what I'm getting at, right? There's no top patterns. There's so many of these that we uncover as we've done these over the years. So my recommendation in the end of all of this is do a value stream mapping workshop, do an assessment, create a tool chain map, look at your value stream. Also include, this is a key point, especially with DevOps, include the human element of that. Because if you don't include the human element, just taking and saying, here's my tool chain connected, you're not going to see bottlenecks. You got to include the human element map of that, where I can actually.
Well, you've always stressed that. The human element.
Yeah, I have, haven't I? Well, that's probably because some of that is I'll be able to automate that. And then, of course, there's this one pattern I like to talk about. That is the data collection pattern. And that lets me know a lot of different things as I'm looking at code through to deployment, test, all of these different stages you're going through. There's a human element, a change request element, a governance element. All these things are part of that DevOps flow. So my recommendation to find and improve your value stream is do a VSM workshop or an assessment yourself and look through where you can find areas of non-value add activities to remove.
And automation, of course, is really what is the bottom line to all this. You want to be able to just eliminate those tasks that are holding people back from doing what it takes to deliver the code, right?
Absolutely. So you're looking for value-added and non-value-added activities, value-added activities that you can automate, non-value-added activities that you can eliminate or automate if you can, in order to be more efficient, to reduce your time to market, to accelerate, right? Value Ops ConnectALL is about where value meets value delivery, right? So you determine what's valuable. I can make sure I'm delivering it efficiently with Value Ops ConnectALL and Value Ops platforms.
Great.
So there's many different patterns, is my point of view. And the best way to uncover all of those is to do an assessment yourself against your tools connected together.
Perfect. All right. Well, we're pretty much up against time, hence the term micro webinar. Lance Knight, Chief Value Stream Architect at Broadcom. Thanks again for your time, as always. And folks, if you want to put it on your calendar, the next episode of this micro webinar series will be August 15th, 1 p.m., again with Lance. And we'll be looking at top automation patterns for governance, compliance, and security. So until then, I'm Dave Rubenstein, editor-in-chief of SD Times. So long for now.